Hi folks, Florida Man here, bringing you your Florida Man cheer. This is an after-action report for a game I played with some of my people from the Talleyrand game, along with some of the other good people from Backstabbr. The game was titled No Noobs, and this video will be the French perspective. After Talleyrand, we joined this No Noobs game. I believe you controlled France, correct?
Correct, that is correct.
Why don't you start telling me about your experience in the early game?
Yeah, so I began, obviously, I do like to kind of get a read on everyone, even players that are farther from me, Russia, Turkey, Austria-Hungary, ones that aren't immediately bordering me as France. But initially, I just had a good feeling about both the German and the English players. Italy was fine too, I didn't have any problems with them. So we agreed to a DMZ in Piedmont, and then very early on to a DMZ in the English Channel with England. I felt good about that alliance. And then, I don't think it was in spring 1901, I think it was in a couple turns after, we kind of had that Western alliance going on. So spring 1901, obviously if there's trust with Italy, the move is Marseille to Spain. And we had agreed on a Piedmont DMZ, I trusted him, so that works out. And then since we were a DMZ in the English Channel, rest to Atlantic, and then I was going to get Spain and Portugal. So the question was then for fall, do I want to get 2 or I want to get 3 supply centers? And I think this is kind of where being an alliance is important. Something that England had said is, okay, the Central Powers would really enjoy if nobody got Belgium this turn. And so that kind of, I said, that's fine. I don't necessarily need 3 this turn. I'm more concerned about having a good alliance than having 3 right out of the bat. And so Germany and I agreed that we'd bounce Belgium and then figure it out later. I believe because we wanted to, and I think it was fall 1901, that we started talking about a Western alliance, that we agreed that England would get Belgium, and then we'd kind of have, since England was only getting 1, England would get 2, France would get 2, and then Germany would also be able to get 2 with Sweden. There was cooperation amongst England and Germany to take Sweden the next year. And so it was all going to be equal. And so, I was fine with bouncing. I was fine with Germany, but just to be safe, I moved to Burr instead of Picardy. And I think as well, knowing that I think England was going to be my alliance this whole game, I just had a really good feeling about them, the way we were corresponding. Even though, Picardy can't do anything to the English Channel, there's just that appearance as well. So I kind of stayed in Burgundy. And then the good thing about moving to Burgundy as well is it then allows us to bounce. And I think in this game, both England, Germany, and I used bounces to a really good effect in sowing distrust other places that we weren't actually aligned.
That's true. I think you and England had a pretty remarkable insight into what the Eastern powers would be thinking, because I don't think England ever spoke to any of us really about Belgium or tried to suss out how we would feel about seeing a bounce there, but you guys correctly managed to make it seem as if you were not all on the same page.
Right. And then the nice thing about that too is then we used rumors of the juggernaut. And there was a juggernaut happening, but we definitely used that to our advantage in kind of obscured the fact that there was a Western triple going on as well.
All right. Well, your builds here were 2 fleets.
Yeah,
and England already had that trust.
Yep, and we kind of talked about it beforehand. Hey, I'm building, just so you're aware, I'm building a fleet in Brest. Definitely don't plan to move into the English Channel. That'd be a dumb move for me right now. And, they said the same thing. And I think just to verify, I think it's on this turn in spring 1902 that we bounced in the English Channel. Yeah. Yep. And so I think that definitely, when we talked about it afterwards, and Italy definitely took that as aggression. And so Italy was a little bit, confused. And Italy had told me in winter not to build anything or not to build a fleet in Marseille. So then in spring, that's why they're moving from Venice to Piedmont and then from Naples to the Tyrrhenian Sea. And initially, at that point, they were, I think Italy's response was, well, damn. And I built the fleet in Marseille. And then throughout the next couple turns, he would increasingly grow frustrated that I was attacking him. And I think he was really confused because he thought that I had tried to stab both Germany and England simultaneously and go after him.
Maybe.
I kind of used that confusion as well to be like, sorry, I panicked. I knew someone was going to try to betray me. So I figured, I'd betray everyone and then work things out later.
I don't know if Italy was actually fooled at this point. I think
Yeah,
there was just very little he could do.
right. And that's what he said later. He's like, oh, well, if there is a, England, France, Germany alliance going on, there's nothing I can do. Which is true.
Yeah. There was very little he could do. It was very little either he or I could do, it felt like, because we were between the rock over here and the hard place over there.
Yep.
Being a central power when there are two strong alliances in the East and West.
Yeah, you really
yeah, really not great.
No. So yeah, that's spring, and then fall. Right, a little bit of just kind of positioning. Italy just didn't have the units at that point to really kind of do much with me moving into the Western Mediterranean. With Belgium, I was a little bit worried initially that Germany would be the weak leg of the alliance, and Germany would try to bounce the move from the North Sea to Belgium. So there was talk with England about giving support. But then Germany on the other side said, oh, let's bounce again. And so I kind of had to backtrack with England and say, hey, they want to bounce. If they see me giving you support, that's not going to be great. And England basically said, that's fine. If they bounce, there's bigger problems. So I ended up just holding, I think because we didn't resolve it in time, so just hope for the best, and it worked out for England and our alliance, so that's good.
Yeah, and that Western Triple started to really work for England. I mean, he...
Yeah, well, and the cooperation up north are very helpful, and positioning, right, for the later backstab, with being able to take St. Petersburg in the next couple turns, having things generally, well, especially having Germany in the Baltic and Bothnia later on, kind of get those German navies where they're not threatening and where they can't really be used to fight against England. So yeah, England definitely had a very good position up in Scandinavia.
All right, and Germany gets another army, England gets another fleet. Not much to talk about here, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, not really.
And Italy also got another fleet, which could have helped hold out a little longer, but you you slip right into Tunis here.
Yes, yeah. So this was kind of I figured that I think it's an option that he probably didn't consider, of me just moving straight into Tunis, or if he did consider it, it was a guessing game and he guessed wrong. I was also thinking about going to North Africa because obviously that gives you support to take Tunis.
Right. I think that's what he was expecting. That's why he tried to bounce.
Yes, exactly. And so that was a lucky break for me.
Oh wow, it was luck, not.
Well, I mean, it was
information or anything.
I knew that he could have just held. So basically, me choosing not to go into North Africa, it was kind of 50-50 whether he would have moved to North Africa or stayed in Tunis.
Yeah, but it also would have failed if he moved Tyrrhenian Sea to Tunis.
That's true.
Well, it's like you definitely made the very best guess you possibly could have.
Right.
And even if you moved Tyrrhenian Sea to Tunis, that would have meant that you got into Piedmont.
In Piedmont, right. And that's actually where the Italian player did a really good job. He held me at Piedmont for most of the game. It's a very, very annoying for me, obviously, but it's a hard place without cooperation from Germany. Venice is a very hard one to get if there is a standoff in Marseille and Piedmont, and so he held me there for most of the time.
Yeah, he did hold out as long as he could, and we started to suffer some misfortune in the east, so he lost his other fleet this season.
Yeah, and that definitely kind of having and again, right, it's hard playing Italy, where if you kind of cooperate with Austria and have a supply center over in the Balkans, and then you get attacked kind of on the western side. Really not much you can do to kind of fight a war on two fronts. So.
Right. And you guys having a Western Triple set you up perfectly to take advantage of that divided attention phenomenon.
Right.
And this is also the season where Germany really springs his stab on us by moving into Tyrolia and Bohemia.
Yeah, and before that, kind of Germany said, okay, I think the waiting game is up. I've got what I wanted in Scandinavia for now. it's time for me to get involved in the Southern War. And, that was obviously really helpful, not only like in terms of morale for me, knowing that there'd be hopefully some support coming soon on that front, but also just kind of being able to change the momentum of the game, have the Central Powers occupied elsewhere.
Yeah, it did change things a little bit. I think the momentum was already on you guys' side by now.
Right.
But fall, we see that you keep Tunis and you you don't advance elsewhere in the Med because
with LYO I have to fall back.
Because
so but didn't know. I'd rather kind of in this circumstance I would rather keep Tunis.
Oh yeah.
And so fall back, and that makes for some kind of awkward maneuvering later. But I keep Tunis, which is kind of the most important thing in terms of
naturally. Not very much to say in this season from your perspective. I'm guessing Burgundy moving back to Paris was to give Germany some security so he could move out of Munich.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, to give him some security, and as well to maybe I think we're moving to Gascony as well, but just in case there was a stab at any point, I can prevent that easier from Paris.
That makes sense. So the winter builds, you only have one space to build in, and you're still engaged in this Mediterranean struggle, so I definitely get choosing fleet in Brest. And England needs armies to advance his forces on land, so, he and Germany's builds also make sense.
Yep.
Spring 1904, you are, again, successfully advancing against Italy. You take the Tyrrhenian Sea, and you're still not getting Piedmont or Gulf of Lion, but, Italy's not moving anywhere either.
Right. Yeah, and getting the Tyrrhenian Sea was really important. For one, you have access to Rome and to Naples.
Oh, yeah.
And, obviously I was also, when at the end of this turn, I was a little bit worried about the move into the Ionian Sea, as then I had to negotiate. You were Austria, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I had to negotiate I was thinking about how I negotiate with you on getting Naples. Oh, no, sorry. My bad. That was Turkey.
Yes. So what happened with Turkey here?
Yes. So with Turkey had my understanding was Turkey had an agreement with Italy, and, they were still had some understanding and alliance from earlier, that Turkey was supposed to bounce me out of Naples.
Mm-hmm.
And that way I wouldn't be able to get Rome or Naples, because Rome would move on Naples, and regardless, we'd all bounce.
So Turkey told you that, or you?
Yes, Turkey up front told me this is what Italy wants me to do. Turkey was also looking for.
I thought so. I was almost certain.
Yeah, no. It would have been a pretty cool move had I just figured that out and just given support unasked, but no, that's not what happened.
No, but that would have been cool, but this makes a lot of sense as well, because I think Turkey was kind of looking for an opportunity to betray us.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they were. So I, figured, hey, I've got good position. I need more units, but this will be important in terms of getting Italy to fall. They'll have to take away either Rome, Piedmont, or Lio. And so I thought, I really don't have much to lose. I can align myself with Turkey, and then later on, if it doesn't work, kind of backstab them. So decided to support, and they got Naples, and that reduced Italy's capacity even more.
And, elsewhere, this is the season where England really makes good a stab that he began in the spring of Germany. So right. What was your level of knowledge of that?
Zero knowledge.
Okay. That's what England said, but I wanted to check and see.
Yeah, zero knowledge on the stab. England, did the classic loose lips sink ships. Sorry, I didn't tell you. I just really needed this to work. Yeah, that's fine. We kind of reaffirmed hey, we're still allies. I didn't have a ton of coordination anyways with Germany, and I think I would have been angrier had Germany actually gotten Venice, and there was opportunities for coordination later on, but since there really wasn't, and I was kind of stuck in Marseille and Piedmont, I didn't really care as much that there was a backstab. It was a good backstab. Getting three centers worked really well. And then later on, with you getting Vienna as well, that took him down from I think 7-3 in one turn. So
down to his home centers.
Yeah, down to his home centers, which is pretty great backstab as far as kind of taking a player out of commission.
Highly effective.
Yeah. So I was more or less fine. Italy, I think Italy knew that the writing was on the wall, but tried to convince me after the stab, like, hey, one of your allies stabbed another one. What do you think? Let's reconsider this. And I kind of said, yeah, maybe I'll withdraw, whatever, and then I didn't because it didn't make any sense.
Did you ever consider being worried about that? Because this is where England really starts to become, larger than you and
right. Yeah. I think I was actually, up until England backstabbed me later on, I was pretty set on maybe a 2, maybe a 3, but I think England had already said that as well, that he'd be good for a 2 or 3 way tie. I kind of got the sense that England didn't necessarily want to get super involved on large scale on the continent. I was talking to England in press after the game ended, and they said, actually, I had my orders set to 3, but then kind of at the last minute changed my mind. And so maybe they're still lying to me, but no, I was pretty trusting of England throughout. And I think because I was bogged down in Italy and so many of my units were tied up there, I kind of thought, well, if they backstab me now, I kind of put my eggs in one basket and didn't necessarily build up as strong of a relationship with you or Turkey. And so kind of, I was a little worried about it, but I think I'd already made my choice in terms of who to trust.
I see. Well, I understand. And did you consider asking England to maybe throw you some dots, considering that he was gaining a bunch from defeating Germany? Because
that's true.
I feel like when France and England go after Germany, or when France and England are are allied and Germany is falling apart, usually Belgium and Munich become French.
Right. Yeah, no, that is something I did not consider. I think I was just too tied up in the war with Italy to think about that. And yeah, I guess that would have definitely been very possible. But no, didn't really think about it.
All right, well, let's see here in the build. England getting a bunch of new units. Italy having to destroy, courtesy of the successful French support of the Turkish fleet into Naples. Turkey building in such a way that sent off red flags for me and made it pretty likely that he was going to betray me.
Right.
At this point, were you in Turkey? Was he trying to become the third partner to you guys, or did that come later?
That came later because at this point I wasn't sure how things were going to go in terms of being allied with you or with Turkey. And so I can't remember where it is that I supported you into Naples, or you supported me into Naples. I can't exactly remember what it was.
Let's see. I'm not.
Okay. So, somehow, I think at some point you got one of the home Italian supply centers, right?
Oh yeah.
Venice. It was Venice. Yeah, you got that. That's what it was. Yeah. So I picked up Rome in spring 1905, and then what was the support you gave?
I was trying to support Naples and Mediterranean Sea because Turkey was still promising to do stuff against the Entente in the West.
Right.
And of course, he was not interested in that actually at all anymore.
Yeah.
But so instead of taking my support and dislodging Mediterranean Sea, which wouldn't have even worked, but
yeah, it would have just bounced.
Yeah, it would have resulted in no moves in that region, which would have been good for us since we were mostly still trying to hold you off.
Right.
But instead of doing that, he supports you into Rome, which succeeds. And Italy ends up getting into West Med, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, this season things are still going the same direction they had been. Anything you want to comment on about this season?
No, not really. I think it was more Turkey and I were still on an agreement that we were going to take out Italy together, and so because I supported him, it was kind of a quid pro quo. I said, on the support when I supported him, I was like, I like Rome. And he's like, yeah, that's fine, and so that's the result of that. I was worried about you being in the Ionian Sea. I didn't have as solid relations with you, and I didn't necessarily know what you're going to do. And then kind of later on, when I realized that Turkey was getting more powerful, I kind of used that to get him out of there.
All right, so in the fall, I lose Ione. Turkey makes good his stab on me.
Mm-hmm.
You continue to hold Rome, and you protect Spain from Italy, and Italy just was going for mid-Atlantic all along to try and...
Yeah, just to try to play the privateer.
Germany is destroyed at the end of 1905.
Mm-hmm.
And now in the West, it's just you and England. England has become now completely secure.
Right.
Because you would have great difficulty in stabbing him. And Germany, who was a little stronger in terms of being able to fight him potentially, because he had more fleets in the north, Germany is gone completely. And Russia is... I don't know if you had any communications with the Russian player.
I did initially. So in spring 1901,
mm-hmm.
and very early on, I think in 1901 or 1902, they were trying to exploit kind of distrust between me. They're kind of so distrust between me and England, and offering to bounce England in Norway, so they wouldn't get Norway or Sweden. I can't remember which one it was, but they were trying to bounce, and I just I kind of didn't really respond to that. Like, yeah, sure, you can go for it. But once there wasn't much contact at all with Russia after that, partially because Scandinavia had already been taken by England and Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like there was a weekend juggernaut still happening, but I think it was I didn't have much contact with them after that.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I was just going to say that now England's only opponent is Russia, really.
Mm-hmm.
The Russian player just hasn't been playing very well for the most part. This is the consensus, I think, between me and the Italian player and the English player.
Yeah.
So far. But, what you going to do?
Right.
So England continues to grow. This season you grow as well because you gained Rome.
Yep.
But the gap between you and England in terms of relative power honestly seems to be widening a bit.
Yeah, it definitely is. He's
up to 10 centers now, and you're still at 7.
7, yeah.
But, his units are increasingly going to have fewer places to go, I think, because he's already taken over one of the 3 German home centers, and the other 2 are going to have some trouble defending themselves, I think. And
right.
Still getting new units. I'm just looking at it and thinking it looks...
Yeah, no, in hindsight, I'm saying, I probably should have worked out a more equal power-sharing agreement with England. Especially Munich, that puts me kind of on your borders, and gives me kind of more power that way.
Yeah, I think it was a disadvantage to you that you had to try to get to Eastern Europe through Tyrolia instead.
Right.
So we see in spring 1906, well, I get into Venice, so that's nice. The Turks do not end up having a very long-lasting friendship with you in Italy.
Yeah, I think partially because they just, I don't know, they didn't seem super trustworthy. I saw one that they kind of backstabbed you, and that they had been working with you. It was a way because I was good friends with England. There wasn't many other opportunities for me to get supply centers.
Makes sense.
So yeah, I was thinking, and then I think I was coordinating with you to move to Apulia. So then that fleet gets disbanded.
Yes, you were definitely coordinating with me here, and I think also that you, after I got into Venice, you were encouraging me to stay there to finish Italy off. I remember.
Right. I also should have. I realized one mistake that I made was I probably should have been open to an alliance with you a little bit earlier, and I think that and kind of been able to have an alliance with both you and Turkey simultaneously, kind of work with both, and then stab depending on how the momentum went.
That might have worked. I mean, I think it would have been hard for you to work with both of us without alienating one or both of us.
Right, that's fair.
We were fighting, but I think maybe it could have worked. And the Turkish, I think that stabbing Turkey was probably a good decision because the Turkish player was quite stabby and was not likely to be trustworthy. Although he winds up, doing relatively well for quite a while just by being that way.
Yeah.
And also by having a very accommodating and I think very unwise Russian player to his north.
Yeah, I think that's moving through the amount of moves through Romania. There's no chance that isn't eventually going to turn into a stab.
Yeah, I think it was kind of inexcusable Russian play, but
right.
Some people get really, attached to their earliest ally, and despite their early ally making all kinds of bad decisions or not thinking of their needs, or they stick with them. And I think that was Turkey's hold over Russia.
Right.
But Turkey gets lucky here because I actually make a couple of poor decisions, deciding what to support and not support, and what not to move. I should have moved Serbia to Budapest because I was pretty certain that Turkey would go for Budapest. Mm-hmm. But I thought perhaps I could protect Greece. It was a poorly calculated choice. Mm-hmm. And you supported me holding in Munich.
Right.
But England cut the support and took Munich.
And took Munich, yeah.
Was that something that you were aware was going to happen?
No, I was not aware. And so, yeah, that kind of set off some alarm bells, but I couldn't do a ton about it, just the amount of units.
That tricky English player, and now he's starting to become rather muscular in these regions. And on the bright side, you finished Italy off this season.
There was that kind of, I just had to sit down and think about it, like how am I going to, with 2 units, cover those 2 territories? And then, the answer was let them take Spain and then support myself in. But yeah, that was, it was nice to have Italy out of play.
Yeah, I would imagine. You've been fighting him for
4 years, something like that.
4 years, yeah, something like that. It's got to be at least close to 5, really.
Yeah.
Because everything since 1901 has been anti-Italy. It's just that in 1901 you were taking neutrals, and you build an army this time. Why did you decide on an army?
I think I was looking more towards endgame and thinking that I would probably need one kind of army support in the Italian home centers. And potentially, if there was a stab, to kind of protect my own centers.
I see. Well, that all makes sense to me. And then with 1907, we see, I'm getting killed here, and you're kind of moving to take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, and I was right. I just backstabbed Turkey. I knew that position was going to be really important, and that the Ionian Sea was paramount, and that supporting that would be good. And I think it's around here where I'm talking with England about endgame and a 3-way draw, and that potentially being Turkey is the third person draw, right? So all we have to do at this point is finish Austria off, you off, and then Italy, or not Italy,
Russia. Yeah, that's true. That is the easiest, most straightforward path for you to get to your endgame. Right.
Yeah, which is why I think, not having made those kind of agreements to take Belgium and Munich, I think my best bet was in a kind of 3 or 2-way.
Yeah, and you get support from England into Tyrolia this season.
Mm-hmm.
England has finally finished taking all of the German home centers. I am reduced down to Trieste, Venice, and Budapest because I managed to retake that while losing Vienna.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm reduced to those little centers in a little line. You are, you're still advancing in the Mediterranean, but you're not really advancing anymore. You're not going to get past the Ionian Sea.
Yeah, with the amount of support that they have.
Yeah, they have an amount of support that you're never going to break through, and that you have an amount of support that they're never going to break through. In fact, did you ever think about maybe leaving that Spanish fleet in the west? Because if you had moved it to Portugal or mid-Atlantic, it might have actually been more useful to you. I mean, it would have been maybe a little worrying to England.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah, I did think about that, but then I think I was also I was more nervous about Turkey than I was about England, just because of my stab, and I was also thinking about kind of I told you this when I moved down, is I was thinking about a convoy into Albania.
Oh right, yeah, I guess you were.
Yeah, and that as a way to kind of start the. I mean, it wouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have really changed the game at all, and especially as at this point Turkey was growing. But it would have helped at least a little bit.
All right. Anything about this year you want to mention?
No. I think we're good.
Then there's another English army build in Edinburgh. Are you worried about the fact that England has like a big pile of armies here right now?
Yeah, yeah, and that's why instead of kind of moving those armies down, I just leave them there. Yeah, I was relieved actually, and this is where kind of trusting England actually worked for this part of the game. Is I did enjoy seeing that clump become a line in that there was, because there was movement. I think it maybe in 1908 where Munich goes to Tyrolia, or can't remember, but there is kind of a movement of that cluster of units kind of more southeast.
Well, at least one or two of them moves.
Yeah.
Spring, we don't see any moves by them really, except for that one of them moves east into Berlin because he needs armies there to hopefully grab some Russian centers.
Mm-hmm.
But you get into Venice, which leaves Tyrolia open.
Yeah, what I should have done is I should have done the opposite, having Piedmont moved.
Maybe.
There obviously was the possibility that the support would be cut, but then I wouldn't have given up Tyrolia.
That's true. I mean, I don't know how important Tyrolia was going to be for you because you, well, it could have been important.
It could have been later on with the kind of the three-way draw scenario.
Yeah. But you give England Tyrolia here, and that does get him further south a little bit and east. He is starting to move a couple of his units away from you, and that's good.
Mm-hmm.
You get a new fleet here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
not a ridiculous Cold War arms race for the Ionian happens.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. I don't know how you were ever gonna get that fleet into a place where it could be useful. Because if you need to support Ionian with 3 units, you can't move Marseille's fleet anywhere through there.
Mm-hmm.
And since Turkey built a new fleet in Smyrna, you will need to support the Ionian with 3 units to be sure of holding it.
Right.
I was just wondering, did you think about building an army there? Because, England still has 3 armies near your homeland tier 2.
Right. Yeah, no, I did think about building an army, and I think ultimately what dissuaded me is actually and I don't think it was an aggressive move at all, but the move to, I think more of a defensive move, but the Turkish fleet moved to Albania, to do Albania. Because that way they could be in the Adriatic, could, take Venice, and then later Trieste, grow even more, and then if they took Adriatic, if they kind of inchwormed up, they could get Apulia, and then it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'd be 6 to, I guess, 4, 6 to 5, and could take Ionia.
Oh yeah, I mean they definitely could have. Contested the Ionian still.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 1909, here is where your ally is really moving east, like
Yeah.
you wanted, and he's really attacking Russia and positioning to attack Turkey with
Mhm.
full force. And you move Piedmont to Tuscany. Do you remember why that was?
So that was, what was I doing there? I think that was partially the convoy that I was, and then I think additional support for Venice.
Oh, yeah, I guess additional. Yeah, I guess that would allow you to do additional support.
For Venice, yeah, just kind of, and then with the move Burgundy to Marseille, and then that's what I was planning.
So you were going to move more armies away from France.
Yeah. In hindsight, not a great strategic move.
No, I mean, well, there are times when you have to open your back to your ally.
Right.
This might not have been one of them, to be honest.
No.
I think this was a choice, but
Yeah.
you didn't play it badly. I don't think you just leaned on the alliance.
Yep.
And maybe even you thought it would make England feel more secure because he vacated Belgium.
Right.
He didn't vacate; he moved a fleet in actually. But
Yep.
still, that makes it less threatening to you. And
Mhm.
anyway, he's moving a lot of stuff east.
Right.
So here is where we see you support him into Trieste
Uh-huh.
and finish me off, as you should. And at the same time, he backstabs you.
Yeah, goes with English Channel and Picardy. Yeah. There was talk of me going into Trieste and England supporting me, and I think that would have worked out better for me. Unfortunately, we also had to. I think there was still some distrust with Turkey, even though Turkey is just supporting themselves here. I think we were, both England and I had talked about how kind of we were worried that because Turkey had expanded so quickly, they would get the idea that, hey, I can, instead of a three-way, I can do a two-way, or I might even be able to solo.
Maybe. I mean, I will say that Turkey's moves are just, I think that they're more dot snatchy
Yeah.
than our alliance play at any point in the entire game.
Right. That's definitely true.
So you are kind of, I think, caught unawares here by England's stab. It's perfectly timed, to my mind.
It was, and I actually did think, should I move the fleet to the south coast of Spain? That was something, and that would have helped, honestly. If I had done that, that would have made the stab less effective. But no, at this point, I felt secure in the alliance. I think especially after seeing him move everything.
Yeah, he really threw you off there. And he, by doing this stab in this way at this moment, and the fact that you didn't move any of your units that were actually near your home centers offensively, I think he gained a lot of momentum on you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so the build phase, you didn't have any builds this time.
Mm-hmm.
Turkey builds an army, which could be useful. If you and Turkey tightly communicate from this point onward, you could definitely stop England from getting the solo.
And I think I reached out a couple times, and there was some like token agreements, like, oh yeah, we will coordinate all of this stuff. And then I can't remember if it's this turn or next turn comes the where he forgot to press submit orders.
It's not this season.
It's not this turn, but
so you and England are sparring, and I think your tactical play here, it's kind of agreed by all of us, all the other players who have done these videos. We all kind of agree your tactical play in defense of your homeland is really good. And you are very successful, I think, at slowing England down when he has overwhelming forces that ought to successfully overwhelm you. This is really an example of both how France is actually a highly defensible country, and also the really strong tactical play that you want to see in a player who has France, who under attack by his English ally. Personally, I don't favor allying with England as France. I prefer Germany because I think an Anglo-French alliance usually ends up looking like this.
Yeah.
I do like it if I'm England, though.
Right. You do have some more flexibility.
Yeah. Germany is, I think, a more difficult ally for England to deal with later on, because Germany could build 2 fleets that can then immediately attack England because they're both in the north, whereas France is limited to 1 fleet in the north and 1 fleet in the south at a time. Mm-hmm. And that fleet in the south will take at least 3 moves before it will be even useful against England. This is just extraneous stuff, really, right now. But just my thoughts on seeing an Anglo-French alliance. But you're very successful in defending yourself against England here, and you really, really quickly are willing and able to turn your back on Turkey, and you're very prudent about that, because even if Turkey were to betray you, you're still facing the English solo threat.
Right. That's where the effort has to go.
Yes, exactly. And you continue putting the effort in there. Turkey takes Trieste back from England. Mm-hmm. Well, for some reason, he takes it with a fleet.
Yeah, I don't know why he was... I would have gone with the army. That kind of picks him up.
I think most of us would have gone with the army. A couple of us were talking the idea that may have been the turning point of the game.
Yeah.
If he had an army there, and you guys would have gotten Tyrolia and Bohemia and Galicia, and
well, I wonder if also if taking it with a fleet also kind of presages that he knew he was going to backstab me again and take all of Italy.
Oh, maybe. I think he probably was planning on that, because again, it's really just dot grabbing kind of play by Turkey. He's cunning, I think. Yeah. With setting up the stabs, but he's not really got a long-term plan for this. It's more like he's got a plan for how he's going to grab some dots next year.
Well, and that ends up not working in the end, because he hasn't invested any effort into kind of building relationships. He ultimately doesn't, there was at least a chance before that we could work together, but then, at the end, I decided to disband the 2 centers that would then give England the victory, rather than have a 2-way, or I'd rather see Turkey lose, essentially.
It makes a lot of sense to me. Turkey is doing his utmost to make sure you lose, instead of trying to stop England, really. Like, this season, it's just a travesty to me. I think it's kind of disgraceful. He could have taken Galicia, as well as bouncing Ukraine.
Yeah.
Instead, Vienna and Budapest support themselves to hold.
Yeah.
He could have taken Trieste with an army instead of a fleet. Mm-hmm. Instead, we have a useless unit that can't go any farther north, because it's not an army. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
But that was the Turkish player for me. He was kind of frustrating for much of the game, not because he wasn't smart. I think he was, but because everything he ever said to me was a lie.
Yeah. I know that England, that Italy also had problems with the Turkish player in terms of being able to trust, and
and I knew he was untrustworthy, and the problem was I had to work with him anyway because you guys were attacking. Right. But this is the season where he NMRs.
Yep.
And so loses Vienna.
Yep.
I'm starting to think this guy's playing for the English team.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Man,
and certainly there was at this stage in the game too. I know, I was thinking there's probably no hope anyways. I'm going to defend as best I can. But then when I saw the NMR, I was like, yeah, this is going to end in an English victory.
Yeah, I missed an order myself. I missed a bit of order, but I don't think very many people even noticed that I missed it.
Oh, I didn't notice it. So
but, yeah, I didn't like the fact that this game was set so that seasons would process whenever people had entered their orders, because that you couldn't predict when the next season would be.
Right.
And so, since some of the seasons were also shorter than others, the builds and retreats, that meant there was a special opportunity to miss some of the seasons.
Right.
When you might not have otherwise. But here, England is doing pretty good, play, trying to finish you off, trying to kill you and take the rest of your dots. And he's also doing a good job of playing competently against Turkey. If he had known Turkey would have NMR'd, he would have definitely taken Moscow here. But But you can't know these things in advance.
Can't know these things in advance.
But he gets Vienna in any case, which he would have gotten even if Turkey didn't NMR, because Turkey had a fleet in Trieste instead of an army. And Vienna will end up being part of his 18 dots he has at the end, which is ridiculous and not something that England should ever achieve. But
no, that is a very far east for.
Yeah, it's funny. It's only like once separated by one space from Munich, but it is very unlikely.
Yeah,
any of the Western powers ever holds Vienna to the end.
You're right.
It's statistically improbable. Russia has no trouble at all doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Russia is different, And the same is true of Turkey or Italy. Well, Italy might have a little more trouble than Russia, but Italy is more likely to have that. Anyway, this is more of England building standard things to try and give you guys the coup de grace.
Yep.
Turkey building an army, Ankara. Hell if I know why, honestly.
That's fair, yeah.
But I guess that's supposed to support Sevastopol in place.
Yeah, probably.
But he has a unit in Romania for that.
No idea.
So, yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess any more Turkish units aren't going to do any good in any case, no matter where he puts them, because his position is so compromised now. Turkey sort of failing again at figuring out what England was likely to do and defending effectively against it. And Turkey going straight for Venice as soon as it's unoccupied.
Yeah, just like not a very helpful move if you're trying to actually get you an extra dot, and I guess, you're moving from the dumb move you made with the fleets last turn. But yeah, it's just not helpful in terms of actually winning the game. This
is where being a bad ally actually turns into being bad at a certain stage of the game. Because it should be possible for him to perfectly defend Trieste and Venice from England without actually occupying either of them, unless England supports him into Venice at some point because he's bouncing there, self-bouncing. It should be possible for him to do that, and not only that, but he should be looking at how he can take Ukraine and or Galicia so that he can secure Moscow and retake Vienna.
Yeah.
And he's just making a ton of unsupported moves all over the place.
Yeah.
And doing the same move on Ukraine he's made unsuccessfully before.
Right.
Which, he supports only from Moscow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you look at how many of these moves fail, right? It's every single one.
Yeah. Yeah. Turkey is just not... I don't know where the thought is here. He put more thought into his moves earlier, I think.
Right.
This is ridiculous. It's kind of inexcusable.
Mm-hmm.
And you are still fighting the good fight against England. You've taken back Iberia, what'd you say?
The Mid-Atlantic, and then going Spain as well.
And Brest, yes.
Yeah, and Brest, right, and Brest.
Yeah. England now only has one French supply center to show all his efforts to attack France. And meanwhile, Turkey is occupying just as many French supply centers as England while trying to stop the leader.
Mm-hmm.
It's so infuriating. And you destroy the fleet in Marseille and the army in Picardy, which is, I think you said, giving it to England at this point. You could have destroyed the North Africa fleet, which was completely superfluous to your defensive effort now. But you instead keep it so you can defend against Turkey taking Tunis, because Turkey doesn't deserve to be among the winners of this game. And I think that's true. It's a matter of opinion, but it's true. And oh man, Turkey, what are you doing, man? It's there's no reason why this game should go as directly down the tubes as it does. I think England chose a good moment to stab you, and he had a good resolve. But I really do think you guys could have stopped him.
Yeah.
And the fact that Vienna is one of his supply centers that he uses to get to 18 is just a further demonstration of that, because he never loses it, and he should have. It should have been lost to Turkey.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. Turkey, here in fall of 1912, Turkey finally makes a move to try and reclaim Galicia successfully. But it's way too late.
Yeah.
And England, I'm sure he knows he's already got it.
Yeah.
He's in Marseille, and he takes Brest, and he has Moscow and Warsaw and Vienna. That is the English solo victory in this game.
Yeah, no, they definitely, I think, did very well with their alliance with me, and made me trust them to the point where they did really well.
Yeah. I think he did really well too. I think it was strong play by England, strong play by you as well for most of the game. I think.
Yeah.
In the beginning and the end game especially, because you fought like a cornered animal.
I did. Yeah. No, that was I definitely spent some time thinking out the moves there.
Yeah. So I think well played.
Thank you. Likewise, I'm sorry that the everything went down in the Balkans with Turkey and yeah.
With Austria, you need a good kickstart, and failing sometimes it's hard to get off the ground.
Right.
Austria is still my favorite, I think, but there are always going to be these games like this.
Yeah.
Where you're facing an alliance that's really not good for you. But I hope you had fun.
I did. It was a fun game.
Yeah, it was interesting to me as well. I mean, it was fun in places. I was dealing with my neighbors, which was less fun. Italy was great. He was a class act, but Russia and Turkey were kind of awful.
Yeah. No, not very fun. Yeah, I really like Italy as a player. I'm a little sad that I had to go against him, but yeah, I like him as a player.
Do you have any words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the audience?
Probably in a France-England alliance, you need to either cooperate on taking down Italy with others a little bit earlier, or you need to move through Munich and get east a little bit earlier than I did. So.
Yeah, I think there were a few changes I would have made to alliance play here, but it ended up being a strong alliance, an alliance that dominated the map and took over the world until England stabbed for the win.
Yep.
So that shows the strength of your alliance that did drive the game. Yep.
Yeah, no, I thought it was fun alliance play as well. Just to kind of see things going well for each of us.
And of course, secretly, fun is the real point of the game.
Yes.
Is something someone might say somewhere.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and if so, I hope you'll check out one of the other perspectives on the game, or perhaps another video of mine. And if you want to help the channel grow, please like and subscribe and comment below with your idea for a future Florida Man video. Until next time, Florida Man out.